Why, where are you?
I'm next to you.
God.
We can switch them.
It's good to change things up. Trying to keep you on the toes.
Hey,
That's what you get for missing a meeting or two.
Yes, doesn't take much. What's gonna happen after this?
The zipper on the bottom is broken, so
Okay. Musso, nobody had a conflict, so one of them has to sit down, right?
No, no, Kenny Musso, Kathleen has, or
Yeah,
Kelly
okay.
has a.
Kelly, you're gonna sit down, you gotta go out for Musso, we'll talk about it. Okay, good evening. And welcome to the November 18th, 2019 edition of the Zoning Board of Appeals for the City of Plattsburgh. We're gonna hear 5 different items tonight. The first one is Kenneth Musso. I'm gonna do them all for a second. 30 Riverside Drive. You're here for that. Justin Glicksman, 31 Sandra. Okay. Tana, did I say it right? Gary Hanley? Yes. Did I say it right? Tana? Okay. Jason Sachs and Kimberly Davis. You're here for that, correct? Okay. So, we have 5 cases, we have some conflicts where people might own property within 500 feet. Kenneth Musso, Kelly Porter is not allowed to, is within 500 feet. If there were only 5 people here, you could, and you need 3 votes, which is the majority for 5 people. If there were only 5 of us, you could say that you waive that rule and she could stay voting, but there are 6 of us, so she will not be voting on that. Did you have a conflict on
yep.
Glicksman?
Yep. No. Court Street.
Okay, Court Street. Kathleen Inslee has a conflict on Court Street. That's not, is that property related, right? You're not within 500 feet. It's a conflict, so she couldn't even be voted. We have 5 people for that.
500 feet of there?
Other than that, we're fine for people. Again, we have a full board voting, so we are presenting a full board. We'll start with Kenneth Musso, 30 Riverside Drive.
Do you want me to step away? Ron, do you want me to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
And you have an application for a use variance, Class A use variance for the property. There's been some discussion about whether or not it needs a use variance, which would be hard for you to get because you're the present owner, and it would be considered self-created hardship anyway. So we discussed it. I'm going to basically, to summarize it, it's a house that's been used for a long, long time. It's a 2-family house. The last family that lived there opened up a little passageway, actually a substandard passageway between the two. It was visited by the building inspector. There are 2 separate bathrooms, 2 separate electric panels, and the remnants of the kitchen upstairs. The stove was as if it had been partly done and not completed. So I'm going to open it to the board for a minute to just ask you if you got any questions. As I said, there's been some discussion about whether it needs to be reestablished or just whether it needs a variance. So I'm open to anybody to.
How long have you owned it?
Oh, 8 months perhaps.
And was it that a foreclosure? Was it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. And my understanding is it was in foreclosure for many years. Do you have any
I wouldn't know how
background?
many years, but I would think a year, beyond a year, yes.
Okay.
But I'm not sure how many. It was vacant for a while.
can I assume that it didn't sell as a single-family home during the foreclosure? Was it foreclosure because, was the length of the foreclosure proceeding because it was complicated by other things, or because nobody would buy it?
I don't really know, to be honest with you, about it online.
Right,
So
okay.
I don't know the particular circumstances that
Mhm.
existed. Whether it was a lack of payment, I'm assuming that.
Okay. Any questions?
It was built in probably in the thirties, I'm gonna guess, and it was historically a two-family house all those
Right.
years.
What we do know is that area up until a while ago was R2
That's correct.
also, so, do you guys have questions or comments or anything? Does anybody here? Does anybody in the audience, I'm gonna open the public hearing portion of this. This is for 30 Riverside Drive in the city of Plattsburgh, Class A use variance to reestablish a two-family residence. Is there anybody here to comment on that at all? No? Okay. I'm closing the public hearing portion of this particular application. We have a seeker. However, I'm not even sure, I'd like to discuss whether we even need to do the seeker if we're not gonna do a variance.
Well, if we aren't doing a variance, no, we wouldn't need to
See,
do it.
Joe, would you agree? We only need the seeker if we're gonna talk about a variance, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'm
We
looking-
do have a variance in front of us, so I guess we need to address it one way or the other.
Right, we either need to say that we're not going to grant a variance, but we don't think one is needed, as an example. Or, and then if so, then we would do I guess if that motion passed, then we would not need to do the seeker. If it didn't pass, then we would go into the variance, correct? And then we would have to do the seeker,
That's right.
Mhm.
right? So if nobody has other comments, I'm looking for a motion.
It's been a while, fan.
Could it be a clarification of the building inspector's opinion of it needing a variance? Be a clarification of the building inspector's
Yeah,
belief that it needs a variance?
right, yes. It'd be a clarification as to whether or not, you filled out an application, but if we don't feel that you need one, then it would trump that.
No, but that's, the tax records show it as a one-family.
Right.
Back to 2002, two owners ago before the bank, so I just want what that means, you know, for our purposes. I don't know how it was used in reality, but as far as the county is concerned, it was one
Well,
family.
does that,
But we don't
I
have a
wonder,
whole
though,
lot of
that-
evidence in front of us about this. other
What's
than-
that?
We don't have a lot of evidence of the actual use of it in front of us. We have,
no,
you know, mechanisms and systems that were described as being still there as a two-family.
I mean, I guess it's the same as if the assessor went somewhere and saw two apartments and said, oh, it's a two-family home that wasn't allowed. Would we say it's a two-family home because the assessor thought it was or not? You know, I sort of look at it that way. I understand the officialness of that, but I guess if, they might have looked at it and said, oh, only one person's living there, maybe they hadn't been at the upstairs apartment, and I don't know,
I guess what is the mechanism for changing an assessment from a 1 to a 2 or 2 to 1?
I don't know officially what the assessor's office needs. I mean, my office would need to see that, the kitchen was removed completely, that the electricity was combined, stuff like that. The conversions I saw when I went and visited the site were not what I would consider officially, converting it from a 2 to a 1 based on hallways and stairways. Looks like somebody just did that to use it that way.
Is there a picture of the part that was cut? What did you call it?
The
Walkway?
archway.
Archway.
We're looking right now.
You're
I mean,
talking
it
about the wall that
didn't
was
meet
cut
the
to go-
headroom requirement, that kind of thing.
was that? I'm sorry.
No, looks like we
Didn't
may
need the
have some.
headroom requirement
Oh,
that
okay.
code requires nowadays?
If you, I think you asked about the cutting, the
Yep.
from one apartment to the other.
Yep, yep.
It's 65 inches tall, and underneath the platform that they built is the original stairs.
Okay.
Let me have that.
So is that
Where the door was,
okay.
yeah, that they walled over.
Is that what that did?
Yeah.
So they also-
Can you show where the door used to be on the outside?
This was the opening that was cut
Right,
in the wall.
right there.
Into
Right
the
there,
second
yeah.
floor.
Oh, yeah,
It's
okay.
65
Gotcha.
inches tall.
Yep.
And underneath that landing is the original stairs
Oh, wow.
that went to the exterior. That's how they accessed the rest of the building, was a 65-inch opening.
Okay. I'm just
Thank you.
rounded on that one.
Thank you.
Okay, that helps.
Yeah, let's see.
Yeah.
Show word the motion.
That's it.
Trying to figure out how to word a motion.
I think the motion would be a motion that we find the property an existing, I think
Pre-existing
it's an existing, a pre-existing non-conforming use, and we're allowing it to continue that way with no change in size or site. Does that make sense?
Is that direction to Joe? basically?
Joe, if we have a motion and pass it, that we consider the property to be a pre-existing non-conforming use, is that direction to you?
Is that what?
Is that a direction to you that he does not need a variance and is allowed to remain a two-family house? If we,
Still not sure I understand the question.
if we make a motion and carry it,
Yeah.
that it is a pre-existing non-conforming use
Then
as
he
a
wouldn't need a
two-family
variance.
house, is that considered direction to you that he doesn't need a variance and can continue that use?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a motion in regards to appeal 2221 Kenneth Musso at the location of 30 Riverside Drive. A request for a Class A use variance, that we've determined a use variance is not required, and that it is a two-family existing pre-existing non-conforming use, and that use was never fully discontinued or abandoned.
And then
No
it-
change.
And basically, no change to the structure other than to bring back fully within code the two-family property.
I'll second.
And Kathleen seconded. A yes vote is to approve pre-existing, right?
Yes.
Is to
It
approve.
is not to approve the Class A variance.
Right.
It is to
But
to
we are not
essentially
doing,
table it and say that
Right.
it's not required
right.
due to pre-existing.
So a yes vote is to approve that. You have 5 yes votes, you're all set. We're not gonna grant you a variance. You don't need one, and that's official now.
Okay.
You're all set.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, and we do agree, we need, we're not even bothering to see, we don't say anything more about the secret.
No.
All right, thank you. Justin Glicksman, 31 Sandra. put a fence up. You have an unusual lot,
Yes.
and although this diagram doesn't show it as well as, are you gonna put that? If you look at the picture, you can see the angle. So I think, you've been granted a permit for the other side, correct?
Correct.
For the 6-foot fence on the other side, because it was allowed.
I guess so. That also answers where the guy wire goes to. That also answers where the guy wires go
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
There are power lines across the back.
Right. So it's restricted by that, I think, a bit, right, the lot. So,
I'm assuming.
I'm gonna open this to the board first, to ask questions about it. When I first looked at this diagram, I said, geez, why does it have to come out so far? But then as I look at it, you're really gonna be, if you're 25 feet back, when you get over to the side of your property, you're not very far back, is that correct?
You mean from the fence or from the house itself?
The fence from the side, from the,
It's 14, the proposed, like, usage of 25 feet from the curb would be 14 feet from the house, but only at its lowest point. It actually traces back.
As you go that way, though, as you go away from the house, it gets closer.
It stays to 25, necessary 25 feet from the curb line.
It's parallel to the curb?
Correct.
Oh,
Instead
it'll
of being-
always, I
instead of
see,
being
I'm sorry,
parallel.
right. It's gonna follow that angle.
Yeah. Exactly.
Okay.
Rather than chase
Yeah.
towards the street.
yeah,
And it's, those guy wires are in the back, they aren't shown as well here, but,
They're dead center of the house, they're nowhere even close to the
yeah.
fence.
Questions
but
before
you're,
I open it to the public?
well, I guess,
Yeah.
that 25 feet is from curb, not
Yes.
necessarily from property line.
It isn't from property line, it's 14. It's about,
I think it was 13.
Joe, what do we think the property line is?
About 13 feet from the curb.
13?
Yes.
So you're about 12 feet. Then across from it is West End Park. or-
Correct.
That's a band. That's a good band. Um,
So
Yeah,
that
part of my
driveway was there
facing
for a tree then?
The
It's
reason
not
for
there.
the fence.
Yeah.
No, it's
Um,
to support that pole. It's still
I mean, I'm gonna tell you, now that I understand it, it's not in the 30-foot traffic thing. And frankly, I will make the comment, that 30 foot from the corner either way, it's not impacting safety, right? It's nowhere near,
Nowhere near.
it doesn't. The other thing I would say is that, even though Joe brought it up, I do, if across the street is a fence 6 feet, however far it is from the curb for West End Park,
Oh, some of the fence, I guess, right?
some of the fences, right? I mean, but anyway, that's a comment I'll make, but comments or questions?
I guess my comment is it's a significant variance. You know, saying it's 25 feet from the curb is one thing, but it's
Mhm.
actually only 12 from the property line.
Right. So it
It's
should be
required to be
25.
25 feet.
Is there something that prevents it from going back a little bit further than this? You're coming out 10, then forward 14?
I believe the original proposal was that we can go straight from the line of the house.
Say it again?
The original offering was that we can go straight from the line of the house, trace towards that where the two red lines meet. So we trace straight back where you're actually only, with this proposal, that front leading edge of the, you see where it would turn from the house?
Yeah,
That's the only extra space that you're garnishing with this particular version of it. As Because if it was going straight from the house, it's still gonna end up in the same place.
No, because what you're allowed isn't straight from the house, it's from the corner of the house, but along the property line, parallel to the property line.
Okay. Was my understanding that they said straight from the house to the back property line?
But not parallel to the street.
Correct.
Okay, so
This
you
only,
would,
this would only,
Property line is
you know, pie sheet piece as you open up to follow parallel to the curb.
no, it's you're giving us a parallelogram that would be in violation, not a pie.
No, I meant the area that is different between your original proposal and mine.
Is the house the house is not 25 feet from the property, Joe?
Yes, it is.
It is?
That front corner, give or take a foot, because they're showing 14 feet, and we
Right.
said, what, 12?
Yeah, and then you
So
can't have
you're
anything
26 feet from the
you have to
property
cut off
line is that front corner.
thing, but,
But the straight line of the house unfortunately does not point
But I guess the
towards,
question is,
towards the, 25 feet parallel to the property
Right.
line. And I guess if that was your original proposal, maybe I misunderstood, that it goes not with the line of the house, but just still 25 parallel to the back line of the property.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes.
but I guess there's the point, if you did, it's still if you did a fence starting from that corner that ran parallel to the property line, without coming forward 14 feet, what happens then?
It cannibalizes a significant portion of the backyard. I mean, it really makes a lot of the land,
Mhm.
useless at that point.
In your door to the garage.
Yeah. And the door to the garage is right there, if
Right.
you want it in the back of the house, or beyond the fence.
I think that corner that's closest to the street is right about at 25 or 26 feet,
okay.
and 25 is the
Mhm.
requirement.
Yeah, the red lines are no good, they're on those maps.
Yeah. But based on what they gave us, 25 feet minus the 13, if they're off the property line. Property line's
I mean,
off
I
the
guess the
curb.
question is, if there's a compromise to come out some with that, not necessarily, we could certainly do the 25, but it's a decent size, but I understand that it cuts back into that yard quite a bit. But maybe the question is, instead of coming out 14 feet, it came out.
If you look at that street, I don't think there's much that's out there. I don't think there's much that's out there. A lot, much property or, I mean, the houses up from them, I think, are set back farther.
Yeah.
So if it wasn't the 4-foot height, what would
Rotary.
I think you can put that anywhere on your property. That height can go anywhere.
Mm,
4-foot fence can go anywhere, it doesn't have to be set back, is that it?
Correct. They can do a 4-foot fence.
6 foot on the other side, right?
Yep.
What's, how high is the fence you already have on the other
6
street?
foot.
Gonna be the same kind of fence,
Yeah.
right?
And they're
Which also
allowed a
provides you from the park.
4-foot fence, right?
Yes.
And you're allowed a 4-foot fence
Yeah, it was mostly for privacy, the difference between the two.
because of
That's,
West End Park.
correct, and the living quarters in the first.
What do you think?
You can put a hedge.
Do you still have the hedge on that?
Yeah, and the back line of the property is lined with a hedge.
Is looking. at the
And that's your only
properties
boundary right
along
now,
Park
right?
Ave.
There's no other
West.
fence on the property
How
besides
far
the hedge?
set back they are.
All fence on the Sandra side, but not on
Yeah.
that side, not on the
Okay.
front
Next
side.
door neighbor is.
The hedge that we just put in
Yeah, the
was
one on the left
for our neighbors on West Park.
That's a commercial warehouse, and then
See, I think that fence is gonna
There was
be.
half of a pre-existing hedge there. That way we can wait to grow, but
I think
Okay,
that fence
I can see
coming
that.
parallel from the corner is gonna hit that power line. That
there's still a
pole
small
in the back,
portion of it there.
Well, they can't,
right.
that's in a right of way
Well, no,
anyway.
you can put the fence up, it's just, yeah, if you're not nice, it can, I mean, MLD can take it down anytime they want, you couldn't put a building there.
True.
You can put the fence there. But I think it just about would hit that pole. So, one question might be, and I don't know what anybody else feels about this, instead of coming out 14 feet, come over and come out a smaller amount so that, I mean, you're asking for a variance of, give or take, about 12 or 13 feet, about half of the required part from your thing. So, one question might be, and I don't know what figure anybody else might think about, would be to maybe come out, fence sections are 6 or 8 foot or whatever. I don't know what yours are, probably 8 foot fence sections. One thought, and they'd be cut, but one thought might be to come out 8 feet and then go back parallel, and then you'd have almost a 20, an 18 or 20 foot from the property line, be a little more. Does that make sense? Does that work for you?
To be honest with you, the original, workup was done with more of, let's say,
What's
the
that?
professional's impression in mind. Like, they're the ones who told us it would be the easiest to do. There is a tree, at the corner of that property, which they're kind of going around, which I was avoiding cutting down as well, which you probably would
Mhm.
have to be cut if that was the case. It kind of changes where the fence goes, where the gate goes
Mhm.
for entrance into the back.
You're talking that tree right off the corner of the house?
Yeah.
No, wait, that's outside the fence.
Correct.
Outside is, yeah.
Yeah, which they were kind of dancing around.
Okay. All right, so that would not have an effect if we didn't grant you the full 14 feet out from there. That would still be there.
I mean, if it was
Tree.
Yeah,
8 feet from there to there.
what they did was they
That-
came
that would
straight
be
out
That would have
to
to,
avoid that tree.
I
The tree's
think
gonna
it
be
was
right in
originally
front
done
of
as 14
Oh,
feet,
I
so it would be
Heard about that, John.
exactly 25 from the curb. That's all.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
guess the 8 sounds reasonable then. It changes its vantage to the curb, that's all.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be significant, it's just a matter of aesthetics.
I'm gonna open this to the public for a second.
okay.
Okay. Does anybody have a comment regarding 31 Sandra Avenue? Okay, I'm gonna close the public hearing portion.
Did, did we have any correspondence from the neighbor?
No.
I guess there's the question, does 8 feet instead of 14 work?
Whatever works for you guys.
Well, I mean, it's just, there's two issues here. It's not whether or not we care, I mean, we do care where you put your fence, but it also starts to create precedents where somebody can say, hey, you gave that guy one, it's only 13 feet from his property line, or 12 feet from his property line.
I think 8 feet would work. I said the only difference it would change would be the difference in the
Just
leading
like-
edge of that fence.
Yeah.
So,
I guess what we'd be talking about is coming over the 10 feet.
yep, and then just going 8 feet out as opposed to 14.
What's that?
Just
Yes.
coming out one
Eight.
half of it.
Yeah.
Instead of coming out 14, coming out 8 feet, and then going parallel to the property line, whatever distance that is from the curb, which would seem to be about 31 feet, which would mean about almost a 20-foot, 19-foot, right? Does that make sense to you?
It would still chase this way.
Yeah.
The only difference is it's not
Is that fair? Yeah. Scott?
I get what you're
I'd feel a lot better, especially,
Yeah, me too.
maybe I'm looking at the
Yeah, no, I don't
neighbor,
disagree.
which is set back.
You
Are
can
you gonna
landscape in front of the fence.
Continue
Yes.
the fence along the, shall I call it the west?
west
We were
part.
just using the 25 feet off the curb, which we thought.
Yeah, that's the only
Yeah.
reason I was gauging.
Yeah.
That's what
So
originally
you-
came up
It
with.
was the 14.
Because,
Yeah, but I guess I'm asking a question, are you gonna continue the fence along the western property line also?
It's gonna go the same direction. We're gonna still chase it to the same point in that
Down the
corner.
back.
But is
back
it going
down.
along?
Is it gonna make a turn next to your
No.
neighbor? Is it gonna go the other?
No,
Okay.
it's just going straight back.
Between you
that's
and the
it.
neighbor?
No.
No, okay.
It ends at
Because
the
if so, if it came around, it was a 6-foot fence, it would need it for that area on that side too, correct?
So this is definitely for privacy, not for dogs or,
Well, we have
people
dogs as
keeping-
well too, which is,
Right, okay.
but the
But
fence.
he was saying
if you
it
feel
has
it-
it's more for
Cedar.
privacy.
Is
Yeah, the
anybody-
dog's kept on the other side of that.
What's
He
that?
was saying earlier, he put cedar up already, so
No,
that
there's
doesn't.
already a hedge on the back line, but we're talking about this line on the,
Yeah.
on the
Did you
left
add cedar to that side as well?
No, just to the line between me and my neighbor.
Yeah.
Oh,
But
right.
that side I'm facing west.
Right, you had
Okay.
the little piece existing and then you added more on the side there? Yeah.
Okay, so before we can vote on this, we need to do the seeker, which are usually relatively easy for fences since they don't use any resources or contribute. But, question number 2, you have no, I'm sorry, now you're disqualified. No. Number 2 is yes, it needs a ZBA variance, and it needs a building permit. Otherwise, relative to the seeker, I mean, I don't see where anything,
No.
right? I'm looking for a motion.
Oh,
Go ahead.
uh,
Want it?
sure, go on.
I'll make a motion for appeal number 2224, that after review of the short environmental assessment form, that for questions 1 through 11 in part 2, we check no or small impact may occur, and the chair sign. Under the box, check that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact.
Seconded by Kel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, so that's the seeker. If so, I'm looking for a motion regarding appeal number 2224.
I'll make a motion in regards to appeal 2224 for a Class B variance for Justin Glicksman at 31 Sandra Ave to approve a 6-foot fence in the front yard setback on the southern property line, allowing him to place the fence within, what do we say, that would be 31 feet
From the curb, right?
from the curb for the distance of 53 feet, and having the fence line follow parallel to the curb.
I'll second. I'll second.
Seconded by Kathleen. This is a. The yes vote is to approve the 31-foot from curb. Okay?
We got one tonight, you can throw one out.
That one too? Yeah, why are we all up here?
Good job.
Okay, you have at least 5 votes doing it. So you're all set? Thank you for the compromise.
Thank you.
Go get your permit. You're all set.
It may not be able to find setback.
What is this one?
I know, I just.
Kellogg Court.
Oh, that's-
Does anybody have a conflict on Kellogg?
That's clear.
One of you two has to sit down. Thanks,
They are sitting down.
huh?
They are sitting down.
Yeah. Okay, how are you, sir?
Good, how are you?
Great. Tana, did I say that right?
Yes.
Okay. Gary, did I say that right?
Right.
Okay. How long have you owned the house?
July 25th.
We just
Huh?
We
just bought it this
purchased.
summer.
Oh, okay. And we have a modified, or a plan rather. So, just so we understand, do you have a broken slab between the two, then you have an original garage?
Yes.
You wanna fill that in, plus add a 24 by 24 garage. What happens to the original garage? What's that gonna be?
The latest plan is to leave the original garage intact to maintain the architectural integrity of the building.
Right, leave it intact.
Yes.
But what are
So
you
it
gonna-
has a gable end, so instead of coming off and making it so much larger, we come off 90 degrees to extend the garage. So retain the one-car garage and immediately adjacent it.
So you'd have a three-car garage?
Three-car garage, yeah.
So is that gonna get changed into living space or stay garage? That's my,
That would change only the garage, the space between the original breezeway space where the cement had failed, or the slab had failed. We would extend that back to that property line that's indicated, and put another room in that space.
but the original garage is gonna stay a garage or it's gonna be?
Yes,
Yes.
to stay
Oh, it's
garage.
not becoming living space?
No.
And so you're gonna end up with a three-car garage,
No, two-car.
Yeah.
is that
Three.
correct?
All three.
You're
Sorry,
gonna have to-
yeah,
Adding a two-car garage. so
Right.
total of
And
three.
is the driveway staying and you're just gonna curve into that?
Yes.
So you're gonna come out some over?
It curves already, they originally looked like they used next to the garage as sort of a quasi carport. See, the fence on the
Mhm.
lower part is gone, that was gone before we bought the property, and they had sort of moved the garage out, or moved the drive entrance out, sort of next to the garage a little bit.
And what's the extension off the back gonna be, this foundation extension?
It's about 60 inches.
No, but what's it for?
Oh, it's to add physical space to that room between where the breezeway was and to another exit for the home.
But it can't come out between the corner of the house and the original garage? You see where that hand is right now?
Yes,
Can it just go there?
there's no reason it can't go there, just
Right,
that,
but I'm just trying to understand the space, I'm not,
Yeah.
understand. I guess my reason is to find out why you're doing it. Right, I see the little lines, but I wanna understand what they're gonna be, so was there a reason you needed more space in the back? Because one of the issues, I'll tell you, is that we have a side yard and a rear yard, so we're gonna say that the quote, back of the house, believe it or not, is actually the side yard, and the garage end, where you wanna put the garage is the rear yard, because you have two front yards. You're aggravating you need about 9.5 feet or something, because there's not a full lot. When you come out like that with that extra foundation on the back there, even though the one little part sticks out 5 feet,
yes.
you're aggravating that 5-foot extension into the side yard. That's one point. And then the other real issue, I think we're quite close on coverage, we understand, and that's from a satellite. It could be argued that the overhangs are bigger or whatever, because it's, but the other issue is that you need 30 feet and you have 11 for the two-car garage. I understand why you want it connected. We do know that, as an example, if you, I'm not suggesting, but if you detach that garage, it could be 5 feet from the property line everywhere, but it wouldn't be attached. Right, I just tell you, okay, so just so you understand that. So, to be clear, you're gonna rebuild this breezeway that we see
Yes.
there,
Yes,
which is right there.
yes.
Is that gonna become the width of the original garage when you're done?
I'm sorry?
Is that gonna become the width of the original garage, or just stay about that size? Well, because you're extending all this out, right?
Yes, I'd like to extend it out to be in line with the other previous structure that's a little bit higher in the main part of the building. That one, yes.
Okay, so, but is there, if need be, could that just be filled in there?
Yeah.
Would that work for you without extending back 5 more feet?
It could be filled in, yes. That's,
Only because it's aggravating, I guess, use that word, not me, but it's aggravating, is that you have one part of the house that's 5 feet from the property line, and the side yard is supposed to be 10. You're creating a whole bunch of it that's 5 feet from the property line instead of 10.
yes.
If you filled in, it also solved the coverage issue, wouldn't it, Joe?
Yes.
If you only fill in, we'll start with, I'm just doing different parts, I'm not telling you what people do, but I'm trying to, if you only filled in from the corner of the house to the corner of that original garage to create that breezeway,
Yes.
you wouldn't have any of that situation for us to decide. I'm not saying I'm just giving you some information now. So then the second thing is that you're gonna build a 24 by 24 garage, which, again, is back 5 feet from the property line. So the question would be, if that could stay even with the back of the original garage and the fronts be even.
Yeah, that's part of the difficulty, the garage is only 21 feet long.
I'm trying to understand it, that's why I'm just asking you these questions.
Yeah, no, I understand that, when they built the garage, it was in the 50s,
Yeah,
it was only 21 or 23 feet. Hard to put a
right.
larger vehicle in that size garage.
But couldn't the garage, if that original garage is only 21 feet long, if the back of the new garage was even with it, it could still stick out 3 feet further in the front.
We looked at that, and architecturally, that design, the roof slope intersected with
Yeah.
the 45-degree angle, and it made it look odd. It was the first thing we did consider. If the present garage was 6 feet further forward, then wouldn't be a problem. Architecturally, it remained intact.
Okay, well, I just wanted to understand this, now I'm gonna open it to the board. I was trying to just get the
Yep.
basic ground rule information.
So you looked at coming forward towards Kellogg Court?
We did, well, we looked at how that could remain architecturally intact, and without allowing to go back, the only way it would be to come forward. So yes, we looked at that initially. It just made more sense to go to the left and further back to in line with the other building structure. So we didn't have intercepting roof slopes, and architecturally it looked better.
And then you're also asking for a violation of the rear yard setback, so you can have a 3-car garage rather than a 2-car garage.
It was that, or redesign the 2-car garage and knock down the wall and then try and push it in one direction or the other to get a further width of the garage. It was, the original intent was just to move it in 2-car garages, but then after we looked at what it did architecturally, it just didn't blend in with the Cape style of the house. You're changing pitch angles on the roof, and we didn't want to do that. We wanted to keep it in its current mode.
What would the deficit be created in the rear yard again?
What's that?
What's the deficit that's created in the rear yard again?
I believe they need 25 feet, they've got 11.
It's
Am I right, 25 feet
30.
rear yard setback?
30.
30.
30.
Oh, 30. But we've never had 30, right?
No,
Oh.
they're talking here.
Oh, I see.
Yes, you do. Currently, you
Yes,
do.
It
Because you're-
appears to be about
I'm figuring
35
it back.
currently to the edge of the garage.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, and when we looked at that, like moving the garage over, the roof lines didn't look good. And we were very concerned about maintaining the appearance of the cake.
Have we had any correspondence, Joe, on
No.
What is the difference between the face of the current garage and the face of your house? What is that space?
Well, you can see as we're starting to resheet the entire house, and then we'll side it with hardy board siding. So,
What is the depth between the face of your garage and your house? What is that difference?
oh, I see what you're asking. You know, I haven't measured it.
There's two fronts to, and there's a whole.
Yeah, I just realized that too. I didn't see that before.
I'm gonna open this to the public. Is there anybody here commenting on 2 Kellogg Court? Go ahead. You got to give your name and
Karen Larkin.
address.
I live currently at 17 Cornelia Street. I looked at the property. I understand exactly what you're saying. It makes absolute perfect sense to me. I looked at it, my son was
Oh,
thinking
to
of
buy it?
purchasing it, yes. So I was there 2 times and I can see exactly what you're doing. And I always went on that back end and I thought, what's this all about? It's just vacant, unusable space. I can see exactly what you're talking about. Makes perfect sense.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments? I'm gonna close the public hearing then. Suggestion is.
I'm struggling less with rear issue than I am with the side yard issue.
Again.
I said I'm struggling less with the rear setback issue than I am with the side issue. Right now, the only part that's aggravating really is, looks like maybe a 40-inch amount of space. And you're talking about adding, how many feet? I mean, the bulk of the property will be 5 feet away at that point. That's a struggle.
Do you know what the height is
I mean, this is a huge difference too.
to the
They're saying
eve?
11 and they need
17,
Huh?
17
They're both
17?
on the garage.
Yeah.
side yard.
No, no, that's the peak.
Oh, to the
Uh,
eve.
And then,
Okay,
I'm only thinking about it because of walls and roofs. But that's another one. You know that the average of from the eave to the peak can only be 12 feet on whatever you build.
from the eve to the peak.
Average.
Not if it's attached.
Huh?
Not if it's attached.
Oh, that's right, it's attached, isn't it? There can be anything you want. Sorry.
It can't be anything.
No, I'm sorry. I was
It can't
thinking
be anything
detached.
it wants. It has to meet the requirements of the country.
I'm sorry, because, yeah, people have second floors. Okay, so I guess what I would tell you is, I'm not wild about the 11 feet. I think I would sort of agree that I don't like the aggravation along the quote side yard. And I'd like to think that there's a way that you could make that. What's gonna happen is that the roof, correct me if I'm wrong, but the roof of the new garage is gonna be the ridge is gonna be perpendicular to the ridge of the existing garage. There's gonna be a valley that goes up onto it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I guess my thing is that and I do build
Just
stick
he's got
building,
on the other side a little bigger.
is that you could,
What's that?
one thought would be, and I can't speak for anybody else, that I would be
Has right here.
happiest if nothing else went back into that 10-foot area, which would mean you could still fill in between that breezeway and the existing garage,
Yes.
or whatever, the house next to it anyway.
So that
And that if you could make the
Because
24 by 24
you can't
garage,
do-
which I understand you
you
need,
can't have a valley.
and I think you can do it with an offset
Because
ridge
we
on
don't
it,
live in
frankly.
Florida,
Um,
and the snow has to slide somewhere.
So
Yeah, we're,
it's stuck out in front.
so what you're
I'm
saying,
sorry,
what you're saying to me is,
if, keep everything 10 feet from the property line, or whatever that is, that line of the house. That's what I guess I'm saying.
okay.
I mean, that's my, I can't speak for that, but that's my opinion.
So at the bottom of the screen, you,
Joe, can you show them with the, come right straight down, this is my opinion only,
yeah,
and then out 24, back over, and you'd be about 3 feet in front of that other garage. You could do it with an offset. There are ways to do it with an offset ridge that would, and again, you can be a little higher, you know.
we tried to look at that and it didn't,
What's that?
We looked at that and it didn't look right for the
But
cage.
I know, but I'm just telling you that
No,
I have a
can
real
But
problem.
now the roof line would be the same, correct?
yeah, but it's the valley that's the problem. As the pitch comes off from the gable running this way to the gable running this way, this pitch moving forward has to be offset from the front of the current garage, or else both eaves meet at the same point, and it doesn't look right. It doesn't follow the character of the Cape or any of the traditional homes.
Yeah, but again, neither does follow character of the neighborhood and all that, neither
Yeah,
does
okay.
5 feet from the property line. That's the,
Well, the alternative would be to bring the garage, try and bring the roof of the current garage forward.
say it again?
The alternative would be to bring the front part of the current garage forward into the driveway, and then put the 24 by 24
Yeah.
next to it.
You could
And then-
extend, you're correct, you could extend the front garage 3 feet, or make it a 24-foot deep garage.
Yeah.
And
And
then
then,
that one
the
would line
roof
up
lines
with
would
it.
match.
And you've saved all the money from the stuff we did in the back. No, but I'm not being, we really, this is a you can see what we did with the fence, this is a balancing act for us. And it also has to do with, I keep saying this word, but it's precedent. It's, when we allow stuff, everybody comes and says, you let that person do it. you let
Sure,
that person
sure.
do it."
I
So, and on the other hand, I understand building, I do a lot of that stuff. A, and B, I understand that you want it to look nice and that it's not an, you know, it's a substantial investment, you want it right.
Now, what were you gonna do with the roof over the back area?
It's going to come off an offset pitch, because it wasn't visible.
Okay,
Right. And you still can do that if it's a connection between the two of them just filled in, correct?
Yes.
That part's, I mean, it could come up higher on that roof if you had to, or anything, right?
Right.
Right.
yeah.
But when looking at it from the
So,
front, you don't see it, it
You
doesn't
okay with the rear
change the
area?
appearance of the
But-
house.
You could, I mean, it appears you could feasibly carry that whole roof line right straight across everything. That one there, yeah, not that one right there. And that would give you 24 feet all the way across.
Yeah, the only problem is the upstairs are 2 Cape bedrooms and windows are at a premium. Which is why they reduced the height.
Oh, those are upstairs.
Yeah.
Okay, but you could,
Yeah, it's okay. He can still fill in the bottom. But in other words, all he wants is a little first floor. All he wanted was a first floor connection, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. He doesn't
So,
want
but
a
if I
separate, so
change
it's just
the
a breezeway.
height of the breezeway, then I've intercepted the 2 windows that are directly above it to move that over.
Were you saying you would continue that roof for the new garage?
or a similar one, maybe lower if need be for the new garage and the
So-
old garage.
To get to,
you
Keep
amenable to
moving.
bringing this out, and then
Keep
if we
moving.
elect to
Are
put the
we
garage,
talking about
do it here.
not
Keeping
doing
everything
anything in the,
side flush.
keeping the back flush? He can, and I don't know, I think Joe, coverage thing, which was based on, overhangs and stuff that we don't
Mhm.
know, that may have made it, and we've gotten rid of this whole piece in the back. I think we could say something about, minor coverage,
Yeah.
well under
Yeah.
1%. And he's allowed to, because he's gonna be allowed to make that other garage 24 feet deep. And then I don't have a problem if they do that with 11 feet. Myself, I don't know about anybody else, but, okay?
I have a little bit of a problem with it, but,
So do I, but I mean,
yeah.
but I think we wanna see people,
Well, just kind of the justification of it
That's right.
is you're ending up with
That's
a
what I-
3-car garage
right.
with a significant
Yeah.
variance.
But I'd rather have a 3-car garage than more cars out in the front yard parked,
True.
right? That's the other problem. When we don't have big enough garages, everybody comes to us, they don't put garages up, they say, I just want a wider driveway and put 4 cars in.
Yeah, but no one parks in their garage anyways, you know that.
Yeah, they do if they have nice cars. Okay, is it, and we have other questions I want to do with seeker. Just so you understand, what I think we're talking about, and you can say yes, or you want us to vote on this or not. We're gonna do the seeker first, which is the environmental form. We would be talking about you not extending any other stuff back into that 10-foot wide space.
Okay,
Still filling in between the original house and the original garage.
yes,
Building a 24 by 24 garage, even with the back of the original garage, and being allowed to extend the front of that garage, unless you decide you figure out a way to do the roof without doing that, although that may not be bad either to get a full 24-foot
mhm,
wide. You may also decide when you do that, that you might take that roof off and build one big roof over the whole thing,
okay.
as an example.
Yes.
And that would, the 24 by 24 would stick out 3 feet past the original one, and you could extend that how you want it.
Okay, so I could take the front part of the current garage and move it forward to allow 24 by 24 without ruining the
Yeah.
profile of the garage and the
Okay.
addition. Okay.
Okay, so, now that we're at that, I want to do the seeker, and again, number 2 is yes, and you need a variance, ZBA, and building permit. Okay,
So this space right here should.
I think,
This shouldn't have never been.
it's not really cool much of a use of utility.
No.
And it talks about roof gutters and storms and all that.
I'll make a motion in regards to Appeal 2225 for the short environmental assessment form after review of Part 1, that questions 1 through 11 and Part 2 be checked. No or small impact may occur, and consequently, the chair checked the box that, based on the information analysis, that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts.
Seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I'd like someone to make a motion.
I'll do my best. I'll make a motion for appeal number 2225, Tana, I'm sorry, I missed that one, Tana.
That's right.
And Gary Hanley for 2 Kellogg Court, that a 2-car garage be permitted in the rear yard setback, 11 feet from the property line, but flush with the original garage. 24 by 24, is that been mentioned? And that the breezeway indicated by broken slab on the diagram be extended back to be flush with the original garage and house. which would be 10 feet 6 inches from the property line in the side yard setback.
And
And that the original garage be permitted to be extended forward.
Yeah,
Is
we
it
have
3
a-
feet?
Give me 6.
and,
What is it?
Well, actually, that doesn't, yes, we do have to apply
and,
that.
Did I say
possibility.
it right though, 3 feet? Is it 3 feet?
it's 3 feet.
3 feet forward, okay.
Can we get
Well, to match the front of the 24-foot garage.
3 feet in front of 24.
Right.
It's currently
And-
24?
And
No, it's currently
the-
21.
if there is
Okay.
that any coverage
Oh, and that
might
any,
is less than 1%
that any lot coverage,
deficiency,
is it deficiency or
overage,
overage, is limited to 1%,
less than.
less than 1%.
I need to clarify. So you're saying the
So do
current garage right now is 21 feet?
I think it's 21 feet.
And you're under the impression that we're saying that you can go up 6 more feet?
No,
No,
3
3
more
forward.
feet.
Actually, he can
Yeah, you
legally.
could, yeah.
Well, you just mentioned, so you mentioned 24 feet, and then you were saying
And then the
6.
garage
Well,
is
but-
the
Addition
garage.
is 24 feet to be equal with the back of the current garage.
Right.
But to keep the architectural integrity, I need to move the current garage
The-
But the-
forward.
It can be clarified to say,
But moving the current garage forward, violating any setback.
Understand that, but what is the agreed upon amount that he is able to move it forward? That's the question.
what
I don't
forward?
think
You don't
it
need,
matters.
It doesn't
He's
matter at all?
adding.
I may have thrown that in for,
He's adding
Okay.
to the existing garage.
Yeah.
Okay, no, I know that.
And it,
I thought there was a discrepancy between what you said and what you
it
were
wouldn't
thinking.
really matter, because he can extend that
Okay.
forward.
Okay,
yeah.
Okay. So a yes vote is to approve it with no side yard changes, 11-foot rear yard, and allowing the new and existing garage to go 24 feet from the existing rear wall of the existing garage.
Are you restating my
And that,
Yeah.
I'm just
you trying to say?
re-saying it.
You're reinventing the wheel.
Yeah.
Just improving on it.
I'm glad you're here. Wow.
We have 4 yes and 1 no. The no is Scott Remain. I'm assuming that's for the rear yard.
Yeah, I just, but
Yeah.
I knew it was gonna fly.
Okay, so you're all set?
Thank you.
Thank you for compromising, is that okay?
That's fine. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that's right.
That's enough for tonight, huh?
Yeah.
yes.
Can everybody come back next month? No. Good evening now. Jason Sachs, 94 Court, come on up. And Kathleen is out because she represents somebody somehow. right?
Yep.
And this is a special use permit, which is the same as was previously granted for an accessory apartment. This is not a variance. So I'll explain. I assume you're all here because of this, correct? Okay. So this is a special use permit. Perhaps you've been here before and heard me talk about this. This is a special use permit. Special use permits are in the back of the book, and what you do is you go to a use chart. And the use chart says, in this district, here's a principal use, single-family home as an example. Here's an accessory use, something. Here are uses allowed by special permit. The special permit itself, although, and it's gonna be coming up in some future things here, although there are some restrictions about how it influences a little bit, but mostly because of size, stuff, and parking. You're allowed to do a use if it's allowed by special permit. Permit is in general, we are enjoined to. It'd be different if somebody, this is different than a regular two-family house or somebody's family home, and I want to create two completely separate dwelling units on it. I'm going to rent out 2 units, and they're restricted. But in the RH district, that's not an allowed use, and I think traditionally, although we had some correspondence that seemed to think that we didn't do anything ever about this, but I think traditionally, you'll see that in general, in the RH district, we have almost never, if not never granted, almost never, I'd better say, two-family homes unless there was some real evidence that they'd existed, just like Mr. Musso's at one point. But this is not the same thing, and I understand, I'm glad everybody's here. I happen, as some of you know, to live in the center city myself, so I understand fully everybody's concerns. But I also want everybody to understand what we're doing here, which is we're asked to grant a special use permit, which is in general, and we're gonna have comments, we're gonna have a public hearing, and it's not just this done deal thing, but it's a matter of right. That doesn't mean they can do whatever they want with this apartment. This is an accessory apartment, which means owner occupied, which is different than landlords. And I, both as a zoning chairman and as a resident of Center City, look at it differently. Okay, and I'm not, and my grandparents owned 92 Court Street, and I spent a lot of my growing years at 92. Okay, and I fully understand the, bastardization of that property. Fully understand it, was horrified, it's still am. Okay, but this is a special use permit. And this is also, not only that, this is because a pre-existing special use permit for this exact use was previously granted for this property to have an accessory apartment. It expired, and now the owners have decided that, at the time they didn't know if they would use it, now they've decided they haven't. And I'm gonna let you, we can talk about college housing, we can talk about anything you want, although it's discriminatory and ageist to discuss young adult housing as if it's all the same. But that said, now I'll go to you, sir.
Living here is a nightmare. If anyone had the power to solve this problem years ago, it would have been you. I have not had a moment's peace since I lived here. Granting this variance isn't going to do anything for me. I don't care whether you do or not. Legally in Plattsburgh, as far as I understand, I can already rent to 3 college students if I want to. The accessory apartment makes me move into that and rent it to 4. So you're allowing me to rent to 1 more college student. Thank you very much. I can't begin to describe to you the horrors that I've had to put up with since I've been here. Not only from 92 Court Street, but from that own house. It is killing me.
Mm-hmm.
It should never have been sold to people. There was a 5-hour fist fight in front of my house the other night. They do things that never make me sleep. I have to look shamefaced to my guests and refund them constantly. And I can't have any guests there. I can't live there because I can't sleep. Nobody will buy it. Nobody wants to rent it. You have put me in this position.
Well, I don't know as we've put you in that position.
Not you personally, you the board.
No, we, the board, have not put you in that position.
I don't know
wait,
anybody else that
hold
could have
on.
solved this problem.
Well, everything that's happened in that district, most of where your problems are, happened well before zoning, well before zoning. And understand something, I live on Couch Street. I have college housing across from me, behind from me, diagonally over here, diagonally over there, next door down from that, and next door down from that. So I fully understand college housing. But we did not. We have done everything. You may not understand this, but we have done everything we can.
not that I don't
Wait,
understand, I
we have
really
done
agree.
everything we can to try and protect density and quality of life in the center city. We have certain things that, this is a it's fine and have no apartment. I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but you're almost coming here and arguing with me like, why are we
I'm
letting
coming
you
to
have an
argue with you.
apartment?
I'm coming here to tell you, nobody should live in that neighborhood. Nobody. Every new resident that comes to Plattsburgh, instead of having a sign there that says you are welcome, you need to have one that says you are not
Okay.
welcome.
Well, then, do you want us to give you an accessory apartment or
Yes.
not?
I paid for it, why not?
Huh?
I had to pay for that application.
I know,
Why
but
not?
do you want 2 apartments or you don't want?
Yes, go for it. Thank you.
And is the apartment existing there already?
We
And
have
how
made
many
no
peop-
modifications to the.
Right. And how
house.
many bedrooms are there in the front?
There are 6 bedrooms in the front and 2 in the accessory apartment,
And you're gonna occupy one of them?
supposedly. Nobody around me follows the rules. You think
No, I
that-
didn't ask it. I need to know because accessory apartments are for owner occupation. If you're not gonna, if that's a.
I intend to, yes.
Huh?
I intend to, yes. As long as I can possibly live here, I will. Until they drive me into the hospital. I
Well,
will.
but then if you don't, if the owner doesn't occupy it, the apartment goes away.
And I don't know what to tell you. Sooner
I
or
know,
later,
I'm
this house is
telling you
gonna kill
though.
me, so,
What we're here to vote on is an owner occupied accessory apartment.
okay, do so.
Understand that if it's not owner occupied, which becomes
I
an
understand.
enforcement issue,
Yeah, let's
It goes
let the
away.
enforcement take care of that.
say
It's
it
been
again.
very helpful with the people around me. So, great, let's,
Um,
What was your intent for filing this?
initially, I wanted to turn from a single family to a 2-family, allowing an investor to snap it up, saying, hey, we can put college kids in here. But it's massively expensive and so much red tape to do that, that investors walk away. Nobody wants to buy that house.
I'm totally confused.
So, but you applied for this special use?
That's the only thing that I can do. That's the
Okay.
only thing I can do. What else can I do?
So you're applying for it so that it exists for a potential future buyer?
No, this way, if I have 4 college students in there instead of 3, it's legal. I'm trying to follow the rules.
Okay.
And do you have the parking for all of it?
Yeah, it was a funeral home. It's massive.
I'm gonna listen to public comment right now. Does anybody have anything they wanna say? As you do, you have to rise and tell Lisa your name and your address, and then speak. Who wants to go first? Anybody wanna comment? Yes, sir, go ahead.
Arctic Grand Prix, live at 13 Pleasant Street, my wife Peggy is over here. We have been very kind to Jason and his husband for the duration of their stay over on Court Street. Not too long ago, he seemed to have reached detente with the fraternity next door. Everything seemed to be fine. He had a nice Halloween party. It was covered by the Sun newspaper. And now we're kind of stunned at what has taken place. The density of college students in our area is incredible. And we pay the price for that. Not only noise, but I've had damage to my little hedge along the sidewalk. We had a branch broken off a tree between the sidewalk and the road. Our neighbor next door, who's not here tonight, had his side view mirror smashed in. In the past, Peggy lost a side view mirror. We just don't have room for any more college students in our area. I don't know why Jason I don't understand, because he seemed to reach an accord with his fraternity next door. Jason, what has transpired in the interim?
Well, nothing has changed. Their behavior has not changed. There's constant partying, fistfights, vandalism. They use my lawn as a toilet. That hasn't changed. The day after that Halloween party, when they came over to help me get that benefit, everything was business as usual. Things have not changed. This morning, at 3:30, I had to walk over there and ask them to stop throwing wine bottles off of the balcony.
You
Nothing's
call the
changed.
police?
I don't call the
Kids
police.
next door?
Yes, these are the same kids next door. Nothing's changed. The entire thing that I was trying to do to get the neighborhood together, throw the benefits, build bridges, that's bullshit. It's
Let me
gone.
ask you this question. If you put four college kids in your building now, do you think things are gonna be any better?
I don't care. I hope they burn that building to the ground. And I hope they do. Plattsburgh doesn't deserve that house.
I made my
This has
point.
been a nightmare. I wish I had never heard of this horrible, horrible town. I wish I'd never come here. I have had nothing but horrible experiences since we moved here. You have no idea what it's like to look over at your neighbor's house and see them urinating out of the windows, or to look out at your front lawn and see them ripping out your decorations, or squatting to use it as a toilet, or the bottles that I have to pick up every day, or the windows that I have to repair from the bottles being thrown through them. Nothing has changed, to answer your question. I don't want to put kids in there. I love that house more than anybody here. You have no idea what I have had to do there to say that I love that house. I love that house. But I'll see it burnt to the ground before I go to the hospital for it. I swear to God. I'm at my wit's end.
I don't understand how, if you and your husband moved into that little apartment and you put college students in there, I mean, you have no peace of mind at all.
I don't have any now. But we're going broke because I can't have guests. I can't live there peacefully. I can't have guests. I can't sell it. I can't do anything. I can do nothing. I can't leave. Some nice lady was nice enough to point out earlier how we can live anywhere in the country. Well, I can't. The only way that we can do it is to foreclose and walk away from it because nobody will buy it.
Thank you, Mr. Nolan.
Comments? Go ahead. Stand up, tell her again, even though you did a lot of it.
Karen Larkin, 167 Cornelia. Jason, you and I have never met, and I understand completely what you're going through. And I feel really terrible for everything that you're going through. Number one, I would say to you, the next time anybody gets out of line, call the police.
Can't do that anymore.
You have to keep calling them. You have to keep calling them, and they will be there.
The police have arrived at that residence 29 times in the last 2 years.
Then it's gotta be 30.
No, it's for why? For what point? As soon as they hear that the policeman called, you know who gets blamed in the vandalism? Us. It doesn't matter who calls them. We get blamed and we get the vandalism.
Well, I would ask you to continue calling them anyway, and you need to also, listen, you need to also call the landlord, because in fact, a 21-year-old college student, very often with too much to drink is an idiot.
I know, they've broken into our house.
Okay, and that is what happens with young people who don't have that cerebral cortex fully formed.
Okay.
So it is the responsibility in large part of the landlord to address those issues. And it's real easy to evict somebody like that. You simply say you're gone, bring them to court, and it's all done. Having said that, and understanding that you are at wit's end, and also understanding that we don't need any more college students looking for a party house, and believe me, yours will be the house.
Yes, it would.
Have you ever asked somebody to go in and even look at, if you had to, breaking that up into housing for people over 55?
No.
The reason I say that is because I'm well over 55, and most of my friends are. And we're all looking for things now that are much more character-oriented than a condo somewhere. And we've joked about it, saying, well, let's buy this, or let's do that, and 4 or 5 families, 4 or 5 couples moving in together. Maybe that would be something that would energize you, because I know you're at wit's
Ma'am?
end.
Do you think that elders are gonna wanna live next to travelers?
Well, you see, I think that is a challenge. Absolutely it is. But I think it's time that in addition to holding the frat boys' feet to the fire, and you can also call the coaches, because most of them are on teams, you have to hold the landlord's
Okay,
feet to the
I'm
fire,
gonna stop.
and I'll help you.
I've already
Okay.
spoken to the landlord, and he hates me. There's no way that I can have a conversation with him
Um,
and be civil.
Well,
Okay, thanks. We're here more to discuss the really just this special use permit, but thank you. No, it's okay. Any other comments, questions? Go ahead.
My name is Frances Wright, and I live at 94 Brittenborough Street. Hi, Jason, it's nice to meet you. I also lived in the neighborhood a long time, and I know of what you speak of. I had my front door kicked in. I don't think I've probably suffered as much as you have, but I know that living in this area is difficult. The question that I have is, if he gets this permit to have this apartment and rent the rooms, and then he sells it, whoever buys it have to come back and
You're
get
gonna
that
have to reapply for it.
and reapply? Okay. So I don't necessarily understand why it's going to be an advantage to you to sell property.
Oh, it's not. We're not doing this to sell it. Nobody's going to buy it, whether we have a variance or not.
Okay.
I didn't even want to do this. I wanted to apply for two-family or multifamily. I was just told at the very last minute that it would be exorbitantly expensive to do that. And the special use permit was my only option. Without spending thousands of dollars to chop up the house, put in 400 amp electricity. Yeah.
Well-
There's,
Let's understand that this is a special use permit because it's an owner-occupied,
Right.
yeah, so
I
we
Apartment.
have to stay there. We
And-
have to stay there.
and anybody, whether, and again, I'm in the midst of it myself. I fully understand college housing. I've been around it. I've lived on Couch Street for 20 years. So the difference is supposed to be, and the reason this is a special use permit as opposed to a use variance, is because it's owner occupied, and it's assumed that an owner sitting in the back apartment is gonna have more control over and care more about who they rent to, the trash, the noise, and controlling tenants. We're ready, I'm part of it, there's a committee that's now been formed, there's tons of committees, aren't there? Anyway, that's talking about changing the zoning ordinances, we're gonna be meeting quarterly and all this other stuff, and one of the big things that's supposed to be part of it, it's really big, it's really, really big, as some people would say, no, but anyway, is, that we're talking about the responsibilities of landlords, and we're gonna try and define transient housing as housing with lease terms under a certain period of time, not a year, because a year is probably too short, because you could just say I'm renting it for the whole year to the college, kids, maybe a year and a half or 2 years, but anyway, any housing that has a shorter lease term than what would be considered more permanent, where people have a sense of ownership, would be subject to more scrutiny, landlords would have more responsibility. That stuff is starting to change. Relative to this, he has to occupy it. anybody can put 4 non-blood related adults in a dwelling unit if they have 4 bedrooms that are legal and they have the parking spaces. Anybody can, anywhere. College, 4 working people. Understand, when we start to talk about young adults, they're not all 18 to 21. There are young adults that are 23 or 25 or 27 that choose to live together, and they're not always drunk, and neither are college kids always drunk. But the fact of the matter is that this is a special use permit. He can rent to 4 60-plus seniors, I'm well over that too. He can rent to 4 college students, he can rent to 4 people who work at Bombardier, he can rent to 4 people that do anything. Part of the granting of this special use permit, and the reason he's allowed to come in and get it as a matter of right, is because with it comes responsibilities to control the impact of his housing, because he lives there. Nobody could get this if they didn't occupy it, and if he doesn't occupy it, it goes away. It's specifically for, so understand, yeah, I'll get to you, I promise. Understand that this is a special use permit, because it's considered a special use. It's a use that is allowed by one of these permits because we think that it has less impact, because we think that it's more controllable, et cetera. Okay, go ahead, name.
My name is Peggy Jerome, 13 Pleasant Street. So you're saying that the maximum number of students that can go in that place would be 4? Or the maximum number of people he can rent to is 4?
The maximum number of adults that are allowed to live in an apartment, non-blood
What's the
related.
definition of adult?
Well, wait, adults, non-blood related adults that are allowed to live in an apartment is 4. That's in our ordinance. But to do that, you need the following, which he does, I have. You need 4 bedrooms, at least 81 square feet. You can have 2 bedrooms that are bigger, but nobody wants doubles anymore. But so 4 81 square foot or bigger bedrooms. And for 4 students, for 4 adults, you would need 3 parking spaces. He would need another parking space for the, I know you got plenty of parking on that, but I'm just explaining to him. One other, depending on, for the first 2 adults, you only need 1 parking place. So that's how, part of how we control this density. So he's allowed to have 4 non-blood related adults.
Okay, but then what happens when if and when he sells the place and he
It's
insists
gone.
on moving on, then what happens to the?
That's gone, correct, Joe?
Yes.
Special use permit is not like a permanent, the guy who's gonna build the garage, you can't go, he sold it, now we take that variance back. This is very specific, that's why it's a special use permit. It is an owner-occupied accessory apartment in the RH district. And it is specifically so that an owner can control the density of overuse of his house. And not overuse, but the use of it. I won't even say overuse, because it's what they're allowed to do. Okay.
May I ask another question, please? If Jason sells the house, suppose he sells it to a father who's gonna put his son in that house. And this happens a lot. Livingston Hatch House on North Catherine Street. It was sold to somebody downstate.
Yeah, it's a hockey team.
Hmm? Are there only 4 in that house?
I don't
Yes.
know, Joe.
So
There are only
in
4,
that
aren't there?
house?
I
Wait,
thought there were 5.
are you saying, would only 4 be allowed? Is that what you're
Are
saying?
there only 4 in there now? 5511 or 5411 North
Oh,
Catherine?
North Catherine Street? I think so, yeah, but we still have an enforcement action against them because of the lack of parking. So we're still dealing with that property right now.
Right, Livingston Hatch's house, right
Yes.
down the street from you, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So, if it's sold to a father, he can put no more than his son and maybe 3 other students in that house?
No. It has to be owner occupied. The father would have to move up here.
The father doesn't live in Livingston Hatch's house.
Say that again?
The father that bought the house for his son is going to Plattsburgh State,
Right.
doesn't live in that house.
I understand that, but the father owns it.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, in this case, if the father bought this house, he'd have to live there. If the
To
son bought
To
the
maintain
house,
the accessory apartment, yes.
right?
To understand, as
We
soon
have
as
to
we
own
sell
the
the house,
occupier.
if we ever do, the accessory apartment goes away. It's just one single house again. And if they want it to be an accessory apartment, they have to do exactly what I'm doing now.
That's
I
right.
understand that, I understand that.
But if I were to sell the house to somebody and they wanted to put kids in there, yes, they would only be able to put 4 in that entire building there.
That apartment would go
I
away.
think the term is
Yeah,
legal.
okay, so maximum 4.
That's right.
Yeah.
Unless they reestablish the accessory apartment, in that case, the owner would have to live there.
The owner would still have to live there.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Karen Larkin, 167 Cornelia, I respectfully tell you again that the Engelhart house was purchased by a father who had his son supposedly living there only, and that is now burned to the ground. It is a vacant lot. The Goldman house that is on the corner of William Street and Court Street was purchased by a man from Long Island, very savvy, but he purchased that so that his children and their friends could live there while they went to school. And look at the Goldman house now. So when you say these things, oh, it's gonna be fine, it's gonna be safe, it's gonna be all right, they're not, because
Well-
history
I don't know if we're
given
saying
us-
it's gonna be fine or not. I think what we're saying is this is what is allowed and what we're enjoined to do. We are enjoined to grant a special use permit as a matter of right. How it plays out is a matter of not just us, and frankly, we didn't make these problems, and we tried hard to enforce things that don't, but it becomes an enforcement action on the part of the police, the building inspector's office, and all the other city agencies. So, as people said, if you have a problem and you hear a noise and you don't like it, then call the cops. Complain about the landlord, put in complaints. If there's trash, put in complaints. I've been in my neighborhood 20 years, I put in complaints still, if I have to. If people are making noises, that's what we do. But tonight, here, we're not gonna solve the college housing problem. What we are gonna do is have to grant a special use permit that is a matter of right. And we've got all your feedback, and this all's in the minutes, so, not that he would say this anyway, but nobody can say, oh, I didn't know I had to control the college kids, or whatever it is. And frankly, this is better because those 4 college kids are gonna go somewhere in our neighborhood, somewhere. I'd rather have them in a house where somebody that owns it is living there and controls them. So I think this is probably better college housing and better, they're gonna go somewhere. They're gonna go in some other single-family house. Somebody else is gonna convert their single-family house without an accessory apartment to 4 unwatched young adults. So I think this is better myself, as a resident, so. But anyway, are there any other comments before, yeah, go ahead, George.
Okay, my name's George Hubble, and I own the apartment building across the street, 95 Court de Grey. So, obviously, we understand all your problems, we face all the same issues. College kids, noise, bottles, trash, smoking pot. I guess just do the best you can with what you're gonna put in there and just try to keep them under control, that's all I can.
Oh, sure.
So,
Okay, thank
I
you.
can promise they won't be any worse than what I have next to me.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay,
I think Joe has some correspondence, don't you, Joe?
well, I'll get to that, but
Oh, sorry.
I'm closing the public hearing portion now. We did have some correspondence.
You have copies of those, right?
We did not receive copies.
I think they were emailed to,
I didn't take them. Okay, we have 2. One is from Krista Grand Prix. Unable to attend in person, I want to provide you my objection to the above-mentioned variance. My view is that the primary issue facing the neighborhood is the overabundance of college housing and rental housing. The current zoning ordinances were put in place to support single-family homes as the anchor of the community where homeowners and residents are invested in the neighborhood. Allowing a variance is in opposition of the current zoning and ordinance and is not in the best interest of the neighborhood. As a resident and homeowner in the neighborhood, we oppose allowing for a variance in this matter. Mr. Rampey, 107 Court. Except it's not a variance, just to be clear, it is a special use permit, it's a matter
Chris,
of
the
right.
ground Chris and found.
So,
Yeah.
Just so and then we have one from the owner, submitted by Brandon Epps on behalf of Diane Turner, owner and former resident of 90 Court. In the summer of 1987, my husband and I bought 90 Court, beautiful Italian that we hope to restore. When students filled the property next to us, we were in utter disbelief at the unreasonable noise they created. After 7 years, we decided to move away. Their parties, strewn garbage, and the noise they made were factors. The lack of concern on the part of the Plattsburgh municipal government was another. Today, 32 years later, the problems caused by this same property have yet to be addressed. Several years ago, a young couple bought a former funeral home and transformed it into a delightful bed and breakfast, the Hummingbird Home. They decided to leave for largely the same reasons. The zoning board and planning board have seemingly turned a blind eye to the center city neighborhood's downward spiral. Owners who rent apartments to students by the semester do not reinvest in their buildings or care that their businesses are diminishing the quality of life for those who live nearby. Yet since I have left, many have been granted special use permits to convert their private homes into college housings. These have added to the problems of an already troubled section of the city. A clear vision of the future is needed to counter unhealthy neighborhoods, and this requires political will to change the status quo. This evening, without knowledge on my part of such a vision, there is no context to make an informed decision regarding the matter at hand. Someone has provided I am against this use variance. Let me be very clear, the hardship suffered by the present owner is not of his making, it is very real. Mr. Sachs played as a result of the city's negligence in implementing controls over a long-tolerated situation that will not fix itself. Respectfully submitted by Brandon Epps. I've got both of these I do want to make some corrections to the concept of them a little bit. It is not a variance, it's a special use permit. And I'll just say this, quite honestly, that I'm pretty upset that people think that the zoning board, I can't speak for the planning board, has turned a blind eye to this. I've been doing this for 20 years, month after month after month, fighting with landlords, fighting with people that want to overdevelop the city, and then people go, oh, you just let them do it. So,
Nobody else has any problem.
I'm just telling you right now,
Yes.
we
tell
work
us.
very, very hard to try and protect the quality of life in the city. And then we get accused of not doing anything. I can't tell you how upsetting that is. I dedicate every month of my life for the last 20 years to do this. And
Dare
people
you.
tell me that it's
How
not my
dare
problem
you.
and I created
How
it.
dare you sit there and tell me your hardships of what you go through? I have not had a single night's rest since I
Listen.
moved here because you didn't rein in the college kids when you had a chance.
We don't have that opportunity. We don't have that power.
I don't believe you.
Well,
If
then
you
guess
make
what?
these people go through a 4 foot to 6 foot
I will
rigmarole,
begrudgingly grant you what you're entitled to for your right,
That's
but
why you get me out of here.
extremely offended.
I don't care.
I obviously you
you can't be more
don't.
offended
Guess
than
what?
I am. I'm
I live right in
disgusted.
the middle. I don't live up on Trafalgar. I live right in the middle of the city, right on Couch Street, right amongst all the college students. I have suffered the same stuff you do. I have the same destruction of my property. I've been working for 20 years on this zoning board to try and correct that.
You have
Okay.
failed.
Guess what? Come and try and do it. Come and try and do it. You think it's
I
so
would
easy?
be happy to.
Yeah, okay, go to the mayor and tell him you want to be in the zoning board.
Oh.
Well, this is what we do. Past every mayor, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to lose my cool here, but I find it offensive when I work my butt off to try and work on zoning and protect the city that I'm accused of being negligent. So, it's okay. I'm done. I'm not gonna talk about this anymore. It's got me obviously upset. I'm looking for, I wanna do the seeker right now, and then we're gonna do this, and I've had just about as much of this case as I can take, frankly. So this is a long form environmental form. The apartment exists already. There is no building permit required. It does show the zoning board. Unless anybody has any questions regarding the seeker, I'm looking for a motion that we find no adverse environmental impact.
I'll make a motion in regards to Appeal 2226, special use permit after review of the full environmental assessment form that we declare that this project would have no or small impact, environmental impact.
Seconded by Kelly. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. No, you're not done, that's the secret. Secondly, I'm looking for a motion regarding the special use permit for an accessory, owner-occupied accessory apartment in the RH district.
I will make a motion in regards to Appeal 2226 to grant a special use permit to Jason Sachs at 94 Court Street to reestablish a previously granted accessory apartment.
Seconded by Megan. Oh,
I
Kelly.
already seconded it, yeah. She's got
This
it.
is to approve the SUP 2226. You have 5 yes votes, you have your special use permit, you can go.
Think?
I don't really care. I like to use my phone. It just started, right?
Oh, yeah.
Who's sitting out?
Looks like Megan's gonna.
Thank you for coming, public, by the way.
Mike, it's gonna be a tough act to follow, man.
I will be as nice.
You have to breathe.
Huh?
When you said,
Well, we have to stay.
I don't live up on Trafalgar.
I knew that. I said,
Whoa, you talking about me?
Nobody knows where you live. And my social security number is not.
I'm sorry.
I'm glad I don't live on
I'm sorry.
Trafalgar. I don't live anywhere near Trafalgar.
Nowhere near.
Nowhere near it.
No,
People
you
need
just-
to understand too that we don't
And you
make
start
laws,
talking
we
about how it's
legislate.
our fault, right at the beginning.
Guys,
Oh, yeah.
still on the record.
I don't care,
Come on.
really don't care.
Okay.
Good evening, no, no. Did I say
Yeah.
no?
I haven't asked for anything yet,
What do you want?
just a few variances.
Good evening. Kimberly Davis is the administrator. I happen to know is Michael Kuhn from ADA, who did the plans, and this is a subdivision, 2, 4, and 10 George Street. This was just slightly different than what we looked at previously, right?
It's the same proposal. We had the boundary survey completed since we were here last, so we have additional information. But the proposal's still the same, to create a 2-lot subdivision. Each lot has a few deficiencies from the ordinance. Parcel A is deficient in minimum lot size, minimum lot width, and also the minimum side yard setbacks, whereas parcel B is deficient in minimum lot size and minimum side yard setbacks. Background, originally this was 4 separate parcels, 3 along George Street, and then a triangle of land to the rear adjacent to Platco Corporation. And at some point, the triangle on Platco was deeded to the estate. And so what happened was the 3 parcels got combined by the assessor into 1 tax map parcel. Now for the estate to sell the lands, they're looking to create 2 parcels, one with a single family residence, and then the remaining lands contain a 2-family dwelling unit and an accessory automobile repair business.
Now, what did you say happened to the triangle? It got deeded to who?
So it's unclear which parcel It was deeded to, so originally there was 3 parcels. There was this parcel, there was this parcel, and then there was this parcel. And this triangle of land back here was deeded from Platco to Rudolph Misek, who owned the 3 parcels.
Okay.
Most likely because of some encroachments that he already had, so Rudolph Misek was the former owner, now deceased, which is why this is an estate.
When was that deeded to him? Recently, or?
I believe it was in the 90s.
Okay.
But I don't know if you're aware.
Okay, so a while ago, though.
Yeah.
It's been that way for
Now they're
quite a while.
all
Yeah.
one,
Okay.
and he's looking to
What-
separate.
It talks about,
It's one tax
resident,
map.
what about this residential use in the industrial district? Are you saying they're pre-existing non-conforming?
Correct, so on parcel A is a single-family residence, that's been occupied continuously.
Right.
And then on parcel B, there's a 2-family residence that's been occupied continuously. The structures, according to the county parcel records, date to the 50s and 60s.
Mhm. I mean, is that what they're gonna end up being, is residential uses? You're pretty sure, right?
Yeah, so the parcel A will just have a residential use on it, none of the accessory uses, and then parcel B has the
So he wants
2-family
these.
dwelling plus the outbuildings, which are automobile repair of nature, so likely that would be someone who would wanna purchase this. Parcel B would be for the dual purpose uses. Just from the estate to sell the parcels, that seems like the most
Right.
likely scenario.
So, but you're not, we're only talking about area variances here, no use variances.
Correct, right.
Have they been continuously used as an auto repair?
I don't believe so. I know that the dwelling units have been occupied.
Yeah.
I don't know as far as how continuous the automobile business has been.
And does that go away if they're using it for a length of time?
No, that's actually, it's in an industrial district, so that's permitted. You know, I don't know that the use was abandoned, the owner died, and, so
Right.
those garages weren't used for anything else. And the residential uses were, they've been there as long as I can remember. The owner lived on the bottom floor of that 2-family and he rented out the top. I've done inspections on
Right.
those, so I know that residential use did exist.
But really, it doesn't matter because it's in industrial anyway, so they're.
What would
permitted
matter
use.
would be the residential, that's the non-conforming,
Yeah.
so.
Okay.
Really, we're here for the setback issues, basically, right?
Right, so
Non-conforming lots.
lot size, lot width, and setback, correct.
It's gonna go to a plan.
The other non-conformings carry through either way, correct?
The pre-existing, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
It goes to the planning board anyway.
Yes, we've been to the planning board for sketch subdivision and we'll be back next week.
Is this one they saw?
Yes.
Did they have any problems with it?
Nope, we discussed essentially the proposed parcel line follows the pre-existing parcel line to a length of about 40 feet, and then it jogs to avoid the existing buildings. There are 2 structures that are labeled to be demolished. One is a small outbuilding that would be in line with the proposed subdivision line, and the other is on the plan left side, adjacent to Plateau. There's a simple carport structure that largely encroaches the property line, so the estate will remove that also. So, the planning board's main things were as long as those were removed. They asked and we found the residential structures all have their own water and sewer services, so there's no easement issues. They were curious about that.
Anybody have any questions about this? And, you know, the only thing I would say is the planning board doesn't like us to create substandard lots in general, but they've seen them, and they don't seem, you know, they understand. They seem to understand them, so that'd be my only, you know, there's not much you can do with these buildings and these lots, no matter what you do. I think this is better than it was actually before, because you're getting rid of the lot in the back, right?
Right, so we're actually taking 4 parcels, all of which have deficiencies, and combining them to try and eliminate as many deficiencies as
Mhm.
possible.
Yeah. Okay. Any questions? Not yet. You just hold your horses, mister. I'm gonna open this up to the public. Any comments from the public?
Yes.
Go ahead.
George Hubble. I have known right across the street, 13 George.
What's that?
I have known the building right across the street. So I drove by tonight just to take a look at it, and I knew it hadn't been occupied for a while. There are a lot of old junk outbuildings. That was my concern about some of the old outbuildings and that carport. And so, I mean, I think, to me, I don't have any problems with it. As long as they clean it up and it looks good, I'm happy with it, so.
Great.
I understand
That's
there's
good.
deficiencies, but it is a small neighborhood, so.
Yeah, great.
I
Okay.
have no problem with it.
Thanks, Tracy.
All right, I'm out of here. You guys
Thank
see
you.
enough.
See you later. All right. I'm closing the public hearing portion. There's no more public. Maybe they'll come back in, I can call. Any questions from the board? If not, I'm gonna do the secret. I mean, I don't have any issues. Hey, what do you know? You filled number 2 out right. First one tonight.
First one this year, isn't it? No.
Yeah, almost. Okay, so, does anybody have any questions about that? If not, I'm looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion. In regard to the short environmental assessment form for Appeal 2227, after review of Part 1, that the board check in Part 2, questions 1 through 11, that no or small impact may occur, and as a consequence of that, the chair may check the box that we have determined that the proposed action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impact.
Okay, seconded by,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, and nobody has any questions, I'm looking for a motion regarding this. Mike, do you want this?
Yeah. And maybe read in the date.
Who's making the motion?
Yeah.
I'll make a motion on Appeal 2227 for the Mesick Estate, 2, 4, and 10 George Street, that we approve area variance as requested to merge 4 deeded parcels and subdivide to 0.12 acre parcel A and 0.29 acre parcel B. With deficiencies and as indicated on the schedule of area and bulk controls table on the AEDA sketch subdivision plan dated 9/27/19.
I'll second that.
Okay, a yes vote is to approve.
Calm down yet?
I'm calm down.
In through the nose, out through the mouth.
It's really pretty.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, 5 no votes. 5 yes votes, you're all set.
Thank you.
Go to the planning board, you got a question.
Thank you.
Minutes?
You're glad you didn't go first, all right, because you were next one.
I know, right?
So in the minutes, the last meeting.
No, we wanted you to understand how mean we could be.
You know I appreciate your service.
Spelled out, because this is one of the best ones that I've had.
Let's see.
Set up really well. I will take this and just bring this